like drama with your daily news and especially with your daily financial news, then you probably had a great day today. I was not expecting quite this much drama, but it was, an exciting day. So I was thinking about things after all, everything had kind of eased, done what it was going to do. I noticed that they had Ross Gerber on CNBC again. It made me think about this. It's like they have Ross Gerber on there, they have Gordon Johnson on there, and they want them to give opinions. And neither one of these guys can string together a coherent argument based on logic or any kind of honest analysis. They aren't particularly interesting or entertaining. So I can't figure out why CNBC has them on. Let me know if you have some idea of why in the world these two guys are given airtime on CNBC. Now, it also calls into question a lot of the other folks that they have on there. And I noticed myself being way pickier. Is this somebody I know that they're interviewing on CNBC? Do I know anything about their skill levels, about their background, about what they've accomplished before I'm going to pay attention and then bring it to you, especially? All right. Well, we are now down to the wire on the vote. I'm sure that we'll all be waiting for that result tomorrow on pins and needles. This will be after the market is closed for the day. Nicholas Gibbs will be streaming the actual meeting, the entire meeting. And then as soon as he's done streaming that, he's going to join me right after that, right after the meeting ends. And then we will look over and take a big look at everything that took place tomorrow with regard to Tesla. I might, right after the vote, because that'll probably be, there might be another hour from the vote to the end of the meeting. Right after the vote, I might come on and do a 3 or 4 or 5 minute quick video just to, let you know what's going on in case you want to use my channel as the way that you get some kind of analysis right after the vote happens. I haven't decided that. Don't hold me to it. I got Cern tomorrow on. I'm going to be interviewing Cern. We might do 1 or 2 shows tomorrow. He's back from his vacation finally. I've still got one in the hopper waiting with Brian White that I haven't played yet. So, I might or might not put out that video tomorrow. We'll see what happens. Okay. Listen, I know that there have not been many days recently as consequential as today. And the consequentiality of today, or all the things that happened today, had an effect on Tesla stock, having it go up like crazy. It was over 180 for a while and then backed off just a little bit at the end. And the last time I looked, it was up again in the after hours. So, sometimes people say, well, what caused Tesla to go up so much today? And then you see headlines of all the different reasons. Well, these aren't the headlines necessarily that I saw, but it was just a list of the things that I think might have impacted Tesla in a positive way today. It's quite a list. Number one, interest rates going down. That's always going to be a good thing for Tesla. And so if inflation goes down, interest rates goes down. Of course, then at the end of the day, the Fed comes out all hawkish. So Tesla, paired off some of its good numbers that we saw earlier. But the interest rates are still down pretty good in terms of the bond market. We'll see how that works out over the next few days. And number two, the Fed said that business will continue to be okay. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. I did a whole video on that earlier today that nobody watched. But the Fed says business is going to be okay. It's going to be around 2%, GDP growth per year. I'm not buying that, but that's what they say. And so that might have helped. All right. Number three, Cathie Wood's price target of 2,600 for 2029, which is up from her most recent, I think, which was 2,100 was her price target for 2028 and 2,000 for 2027. So it all comes down to when Robotaxi goes on the road, according to her. And then Elon looked at her estimates and he said that they were challenging but doable. Well, that certainly could have impacted the market. And I did see one headline that said that was the reason for the big bump today. But that wouldn't have explained the bump in all of the other NASDAQ issues. And anyway, number four, good China numbers. They're not great, not fantastic, but good China numbers. And then the tariff, number five, the tariff decision by the EU, which could hurt the Model 3 in Europe, but help the Model Y in Europe. So, Model Ys are there's more, I think, more units sold of those in Europe than Model 3. So overall, that would be a positive. And maybe there's ways to solve the Model 3 problem. Or maybe you start, if it turns out to be better, maybe you start making those Model 3s in Berlin. Number 6, Elon saying that Tesla is in a great position to make a phone, although he hopes it's not necessary. And then I suggested earlier today, if you saw it, I'm not sure you saw it, that maybe Tesla does a deal with Apple and actually has Apple and Foxconn between them make the phone in the way that Tesla would like to see it, differentiating it for the Tesla sphere, or the Elon sphere would even be probably more likely. Number 7, some investors were probably trying to front run the vote tomorrow. After the stock was down for a couple of days, that potentially those people were trying to front run the vote. And then maybe today people were going, well, you know what? I really think it's going to happen. It's going to be a yes. So I want to get some of that before the vote. But anyway, that could have been an impact, could have been a factor. And then a kind of a related one, number 9, would be just plain old bargain hunting. It just got really low. And a lot of people might have gone, this may be an opportunity. I know I saw a couple of people on X saying that they did just that and grabbed some under $170 a share. Okay, you take your pick. Let me know in the comments below if you think any of those, or maybe you think it was something else, maybe a combination. We got a very interesting article. Quoted Electric is where I found it, but it's quoting Bloomberg. Bloomberg's NEF long-term electric vehicle outlook, their EVO. So this is a deep dive by Bloomberg into the electric vehicle market, indicates that rapidly falling battery prices, advancements in next-gen battery technology, and improving relative economics of EVs compared to their ICE counterparts continue to underpin long-term EV growth globally. However, the report indicates that the window to reach global net zero transport is now narrower than ever. Do you understand that sentence? I really worked on that sentence, trying to figure out what they meant by that. Let me know in the comments below if you get what that means. However, they think it's going to take a lot longer than I think it's going to take, or that Cathie Wood thinks it's going to take. I think it's going to happen. I think maybe ICE cars are done by 2028. I earlier said 2027. We had this off year this year. It's going to be hard to make it up. So maybe 2028, the ICE vehicles are basically done. Cathie Woods thinks it's 2030. Maybe it'll be in between that, but it's not going to be. Well, you'll see what they say later. Global passenger EV sales continue to grow, but at a slower pace in the next few years than before. Passenger EV sales are expected to exceed 30 million in 2027, according to the BENF base case scenario. That's the base case. So 30 million out of, let's say, 80 million. And grow to 73 million, but they're putting the 73 million number at 2040. And Cathie actually, I think, might have had exactly the same number, 73 million in 2030. In the next 4 years, electric car sales grow at an average of 21% per year, according to the NEF's economic transition scenario. It's shaped by current techno-economic trends, and with no new policy intervention, of course, that's not necessarily going to happen. You could still have policy interventions. Anyway, compared to the average of 61% has been the growth rate between 20 and 23. They're saying that's going to slow down to 21%. But then after that, sales will jump to a 33% increase in 2027. Only China at 60% and Europe at 41% are above that global average by then. So overall, you'll have 33% of all vehicles being sold in 2027 is EVs. EV sales in Brazil quintuple by 2027 and triple in India. You realize, of course, that the sales of what happens to the sales in Brazil, what happens to the sales in India compared to what happens in the United States, China, Japan, Europe, it's like inconsequential. I mean, we're talking about down in the couple of million here, couple of million there thing. ICE vehicle sales have peaked. ICE vehicle sales peaked in 2017, and by 2027 are 29% lower than their peak in the report's outlook. Bloomberg says its economic analysis indicates that EVs are the primary method of decarbonizing road transport. It also asserts that hybrids can play a meaningful role in the near term near term, in particular in markets with increasingly stringent fuel efficiency rules. Hybrid adoption reached between 5 and 45% of sales by 2030 in the outlook, depending on the market. I think hybrids will be, probably between 5 and 45, but probably 6%. Electric heavy trucks, they say, become economically viable for most use cases by 2030. In heavier segments, battery electric trucks are mostly used in urban duty cycles at first. There's hardly any electric trucks out there. But their economics improve for longer haul routes around 2030 and approach those of diesel powertrains. Have they not heard of the Tesla semi-truck, which already competes with semis quite handily and is going to start ramping up in 2026? Maybe they should call Elon. Anyway, the outlook on fuel cell trucks is far less certain. How about not going to happen? Lithium iron phosphate batteries, LFPs, are taking over the EV market. Improvements in LFP technologies are increasing its market share, particularly in China, and it will, of course, come to the United States and Europe, where cell prices have fallen rapidly to about $53 per kilowatt hour so far this year. LFP crosses 50% share of the global passenger EV market within the next 2 years, if the Bloomberg, according to the outlook. Nickel and manganese are set to feel the most pressure as a result. Due to the shift towards lower cost chemistries, nickel and manganese consumption by 2025 is 25% and 38% lower. It'll be that much lower this year than in their previous outlook. To meet the growing EV electricity demand, the charging industry will need to mature rapidly over the next decade. Between 1.6 trillion and 2.5 trillion in cumulative investment is required in charging infrastructure installation and maintenance by 2050. 2050, depending on the scenario. Okay, if you say so. Well, Tesla alone can do that. Overcapacity is a big issue for battery makers right now. Yes, that's absolutely true. Planned lithium-ion cell manufacturing capacity by the end of 2025 is over 5 times the 1.5 terawatt hour global battery demand expected that year. Over 5 times. Annual lithium battery demand grows rapidly in their economic transition scenario, approaching 5.9 terawatt hours annually by 2035. That's interesting. This is Randy Kirk. Please hit like, subscribe, and notify. That's all I'm going to say about it. And go down below and join Patreon. This summary is better than the one I posted a few hours ago. The summary of what took place today with the Fed, first the report, and then with Chairman Powell coming out and talking and getting all the questions and answering all those questions. The 𝐓𝐞𝐬𝐲𝐬 letter says it this way. Breaking. Fed Chair Powell says the Fed does not have high confidence in their forecasts. And that's basically the summary. That's what he said over and over again. Well, no, we don't really think it's going to work out this way, but, we got to say something. We got to have a forecast. So you've got 12 different regions of the country all putting together a forecast. Then you have 19 governors or presidents or whatever they're called. They all come together in a room. They kick it around the table, one of those big walnut tables, huge old things. Anyway, and they kick it back and forth, and they're like, okay, what do you think, George? and I'm sitting here, just one little guy. I get my information from Jeff and from Bradford and from Nicholas and all, and Larry, all these guys. They're helping me to understand the markets, but these guys are powerful, and they get all this information. They get it way before I do, and they get it in much nicer packages. And then their people put it together and put it in a computer and run those formulas, and then they come up with a projection and their expectation of what the economy is going to do, and they're wrong all the time. And basically, in this particular case, Powell just kind of goes, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, he didn't say it that way, but that's what he said over and over again. So he says, look, this is our best shot. We're just saying we think that the economy is going to grow 2.1% this year. We think that unemployment is going to stay around 4%, and we think that inflation is going to stay around 3.4%, and we think that this kind of a economy is okay, or not. I don't know. I think they don't want, apparently they don't want unemployment to go over 4.2. That's their max. If it goes over 4, they kept telling us over and over and over again, if unemployment goes up suddenly, unexpectedly, not within our framework, then we have to act. So I'm guessing that 4.2 is that number. That seems to be 4.2 now. So I think if it goes over 4.2, if that happens between now and the end of the year, they will have to act. Apparently, 3.4, 3.5% inflation is okay with them. If it drops rapidly to 2.1 or something over 2 or 3 months of reports, then they may feel that they can act, not have to, but can and maybe should, in order to keep inflation from dropping below the 2% level, at least very much. So anyway, that's kind of where they are right now. And but the sense you got, and the sense from the people in the room, constantly asking over and over again, if you think inflation is going to be the same at the end of the year, and you think that unemployment is going to be the same at the end of the year than it is now, and you think the economy is going to continue to grow at 2.1%, why in the world are you saying you're going to cut interest rates one time or possibly two near the end of the year? It would seem like if you think it's going to be the same then as it is now, you could go ahead and cut now. Or vice versa, if you think it's going to be the same, then if you can't cut now, then you wouldn't cut then. All right, tomorrow we have the PPI. And while that's not nearly as important as the PCE at the end of the month, the results of the PPI, along with the results of today's CPI, are mostly contain the components of what's used to derive the PCE. So looking at PPI tomorrow will give us some hint, some idea. And of course, I'll be reporting on that in the morning. But I did have this epiphany just a little while ago. If in fact inflation, now listen to me, if in fact inflation hurts the poorest among us, which he repeated over and over and over again, and I believe it, I've been saying it on the show for weeks, if inflation hurts the poorest among us, and 3.3 or 3.4 or even 3% inflation would be hurtful. That would be painful for everybody, but certainly for the poorest among us. So if that's true, then wouldn't we want to err on the side of disinflation and even deflation in order to help these folks out? But the plan that's currently in place errs on the side of 3% plus inflation for months and months and months into the future. Shouldn't we just take a big, bad gulp of the terrible, horrible tasting medicine now? Have a little recession. It's okay. They're good. They clean out a lot of bad stuff. You could have, 6 months, 9 months of a recession, and then we can get back to growing like crazy because you've got all that stuff out of the way. Well, and then do that with lower or with around 2% inflation. If we have a recession, we have a recession. It's okay. But how about getting those interest rates down and unlocking the housing market? How about helping the deficit if we get those interest rates down? But we can't get them down by lowering them when we're still in a situation where we might get the economy too hot and get the inflation going back up again. I agree with that. That makes total sense to me. But we could take our medicine, have a little bit of a, oh my gosh, we'll go back up to 6% interest rates, do it all in 1 month, go up to 6%. That'll shock the economy. See if we can slow it down enough to where we can have a little recession or maybe just a landing, and then get back on with business. Anyway, the optimist in me believes that we will see greatly improving productivity in the months ahead, and the Fed will be right in that they will be wrong about their forecasts. So at least they'll be right about that these forecasts are not anything that anybody should pay any attention to. So they'll be right. So that'll be good. All right. Let's see where the markets are. Let's see what's happened after hours. We've got the Tesla is up 71 cents in the after hours. So that makes it a total of $7.40 for the day as of this moment. So that's a good day. We have the Dow Jones was down at the end of the day, 35.21. Again, it came down at the end. Everything came down at the end. Right after Powell got done speaking, down it went. NASDAQ up 264 today. S&P up 45 today. So that was all good. The only Amazon was down among the Mag 7, and the Cathie Woods were mixed. All right, let's go ahead and Look at those bonds. Just a second here. Here we go. Okay, so the 10-year. All right, things have gotten all messed up here. All right, the 10-year is up 1.1%, 1.1 basis point in the after hours, back over 4.3. It was down in the 4.25 area, 4.26. But it's up a little bit now in the after hours, again, probably responding to the hawkish message that came from the Fed that nobody was expecting after the good CPI print this morning, making for all the drama. Okay, then we got the 2-year is down another 0.7 of 1 basis point. So that split is now 30 is, oh, okay, it's come down here. So that one is narrowed, okay? And then the 2-month is up 0.5 of a basis point, 538 compared to 4. So it's still over 100 basis points there. But if I can do this in my head, 4.7, that's 3. It's under 3. It's like back down to 35 basis points. All right, well, that's really interesting. I did read a long article. I decided not to bring it to your attention, but I read a long article that says we might be looking at this inversion going on for a very long time, that maybe this is a new situation that we haven't seen before, gave all kinds of reasons. They were kind of in the weeds, so I decided not to bring it up. All right, maybe because I didn't understand it. No, I think I understood it, but I still thought it was a little bit in the weeds. All right, let's go ahead and look at oil. We've got the oil prices right here. Oil is down a little tiny bit, but still 78.29. Brent at 82.60. So both of those, and Brent over $4. I'm getting close to $5 in difference right now. Now, you know, there's been Hezbollah shooting all kinds of rockets at Israel after Israel decided to take out a couple of their top commanders in the, not in the government troops, but in their splinter troops that are the ones that are always causing the problems. So that's probably why Brent is now got a little higher price tag on it. We've got natural gas down just a little bit, but still way over $3. Well, $3.03, $3.04, but still, that's a very high price. And we're going into the summer. Well, we're in the summer months, you know, almost. And basically, that's when natural gas is used for air conditioning. So we could be getting ourselves into a situation in the summer where your air conditioning bill could be high. That is not going to go over very well with the folks. We have gold down 18 after being up today. So right back in the middle, 23.36. We've got silver, which was up very much today, down very much in the pre-market at down 2% at 29.645. So under $30 again. Copper down 1 full percent at $4.51. You got the dollar pairing losses. So it had losses, of course, just a reverse everything we just told you. So the bonds are now going back up. That means the dollar is going to go back up a bit. All right. And then we've got Bitcoin also reversing after dropping a lot, is up 938 at 68,260. Equities, the Dow in the pre-market down 19. So continuing, the Dow continuing down 0.05%. S&P future is up 8.25, which is 0.15%. And the NASDAQ continuing up strongly in the pre-market, 102 or 0.52%. And so there you go. That is the story for today. Please, if you want to hear a little bit more about what I thought about the Fed speech, I will put that card up right here. You know, that will make 12 of you that watch it instead of just 11. And then please be here tomorrow. We will have not a regular day tomorrow, very unusual day tomorrow, but we will have the normal after the bell. That'll be followed probably, maybe, by a quick 5-minute video about the vote as soon as the vote happens. That'll be followed definitely by a conversation with Nicholas Gibbs, where we will talk about the entire meeting out there in Austin, as well as any other issues of the day that need to be discussed. Probably you'll also get to see a Cern or a Brian White video tomorrow, because I'll have some of those, and I will probably put at least one of those up tomorrow around 11 o'clock in the morning. Okay, that's all I got for you right now. It has been great. As always, it always is. Oh, could you go down to Patreon? Go to, in the description below. Just hit the link, takes you right over there, take you about 3 minutes. That'd be great. Okay. Bye for now.